We saw in the previous video how to set up the project properly, but now we need to start working on the 2D tracking. Remember that the 2D tracking process is the most important process in the whole match move workflow. If not done properly, the 2D trackers can also be the culprit in the wrong camera solution. But there is another step that we need to take before we can start tracking, and that is to estimate the focal length. Since we know the focal length, some minor changes can result in the wrong workflow, so we are going to feed the focal length as it was recorded on set. And we will use the estimate focal just to confirm the focal length readout.
So by playing this footage, we can see that the only thing that moves in the shot is the box itself. The box had been fitted with trackers that will allow us to track them if user track are needed. Furthermore, the camera doesn't move, so we need to indicate to PFTrack that the camera is stationary, and that can be done by going into the create. Because the video was shot with a 50mm lens, I decided to call this project box 50. But sometimes, even if you set up your lens on a 50mm, if it's not a prime lens, which means the number is not set, then it's always good to check to see if your lens is actually 50mm lens in this case. So I'm going to take the edit camera, I'm going to put it to the side, and I'm going back to the create. And just in order to check my lens factor, my focal length factor, I'm going to click on estimate focal. I'm going to take the estimate focal, I'm going to pipe it down from the read-in node, and that would be only to see if the lens was actually 50mm lens. So we see that we have a difference of about 6mm. So what we can do in this point is we can track it once, and then we'll be able to swap the information into the edit camera and the estimate focal. But right after the estimate focal, I'm going to create another edit camera. The idea behind this is to have two different workflows piping down from the same footage in order to get the best results possible. So under the estimate focal, I'm going back to my create, and I'm going to call for another edit camera. I'm going to take these two nodes and just move them a bit over here and this one over here in order to separate as much as possible the two different workflows. So under the edit camera here or here, it doesn't matter at this point, I'm going to go with this one. I can go back to my create and click on the user track. Now remember that with the user track, I can set up my trackers individually.
We use the edit camera node in order to tell PFTrack that the camera is static. We also use the estimate focal node in order to see if the readout from the set was accurate. And as a matter of fact, it was really close. Instead of 50mm, it was 56mm. Now we can go into the next video and see how to use manual trackers in PFTrack in order to continue forward.